The best way for this point is to go on in our struggle on the level of international community.
People should meet at 8:30 a.m. on Monday, May 22nd at 425 College Street, which is...
Hello, my name is Stanley Heller. Welcome to The Struggle. The Struggle is shown on over 30 cable stations from Vermont to New York City, on the internet at thestruggle.org. We begin with the prisoners' strike in Israeli jails, an interview with Dr. Yousef Abdul Haq in Nablus. He's professor of political economy at Al-Najah University and an administrator of the Tanweer Palestinian Cultural Enlightenment Forum.
We need to talk about the prisoners and the lack of support for the prisoners from the Palestinian leadership.
Yes, it is unfortunately and it's sad to see that Abbas leadership and Hani leadership in Ramallah and Gaza are just watching and waiting. They didn't meet to make a decision. Our prisoner strikers are in need badly to move their problem from under apartheid Israel occupation to international community. And this can't be moved except if our leadership at least are united for this struggle supporting our prisoner striker. The second point is that both Hani and Abbas didn't do anything except some declaration. I think that they have to review their plan, to review their opinion. The third point, I see that we have just one way to support our prisoner strikers. It is to go to International Criminal Court and to UN Assembly and even to Security Council. Even if USA will take veto, doesn't matter, but we have to return another time to General Assembly. The best way for this point is to go on in our struggle on the level of international community. In this case, you will see that Palestinian people will be more strong in facing this apartheid Israeli repression against prisoner strikers, because they will confident that their leadership are united and they are seriously doing their best to support prisoner strikers. In addition to that, we have many Palestinians outside. We have to do all our best to gather them and make a plan for them how to move in every country of this world. This is, I think, the point that I want to add.
Thank you, Dr. Yousef Abdul Haq.
Thank you.
Here we are in the Solidarity tent in the Nablus Dawar, the downtown area.
Thank you.
Now, dignity and freedom, hunger strike, freedom for prisoners.
You may remember this picture from a week or two ago. President Trump meeting with PA President Mahmoud Abbas, and we wondered how Abbas could have this self-satisfied smirk at a time of the Palestinian hunger strike. Well, there seems to be an explanation. The PA budget is going up, while American programs are being cut, while even the money going to al-Sisi, the dictator of Egypt, is being cut maybe in half. PA money may go up $10 million. One, of course, understands that Trump will want something in return. And now from the leftist Israel Social TV, a Palestinian who the Israeli government put in jail for 7 years. He talks about a successful hunger strike of long ago. He also mentions a horror connected with forced feeding. It's in Arabic with English subtitles.
أنا فوتني انتماء لمنظمة التحرير الفلسطينية لأني أنا فلسطيني ولدي منظمة، وكانت هذه المنظمة بين قوسين منظمة معادية لدولة إسرائيل، فحكمت أنا في 8 سنوات سجن. قضيت 7 سنوات وخضنا هذا الإضراب. هذا الإضراب خضناه بال 82 نحن بسجن الرملي. في هذا السجن أتوا الأسرى إلى سجن الرملي وأطعموا بالقوة قسرا. أسيران استشهدا، نعم، إسحاق مراغة ومحمد حلاوة، اللي قتلهن أطعمهم بالقوة زندا بالقوة، فأدخل الماء والطعام إلى رئتيهم واستشهدوا. أنا كنت بدي أحكي بالنسبة لأسرى الحرية اليوم، إنه لدينا أسرى ما يقارب 6500 أسير داخل السجون. لماذا هم يضربون عن الطعام؟ ما لديهم لكي يضربوا. إذن هناك مطالب محقة وعادلة لهؤلاء الأسرى. هي أولا كرامة الأسير، كرامة الإنسان. ثاني شيء لديه مطالب أن يرى ابنه، أن يحضن ابنه، أن يرى زوجته، أن يتعلم. هناك آلاف الأسرى لم يروا زوجهم منذ سنين، وإسرائيل تختلق ذرائع أمنية ملان لديها ما لا يعد ولا يحصى كي تنكل بهؤلاء الأسرى. أنت حين تعتقله، نعم تعتقله، ولكن تغلق الأبواب عليه، ولكن فكره لا، عاطفتهم ليست لك.
Next, an interview I did with 3 graduate students, teachers at Yale University. They are using the tactic of hunger strike to dramatize their cause, the demand that Yale University bargain with their union. We are at Beinecke Plaza at Yale University and talking to some of the leadership of Local 33, Unite Here, the union that Yale so far is not negotiating with. And I'm sure most of you have heard from our shows or other means about the hunger strike that a number of the people in the union have been taking to dramatize their cause. So let's introduce from my right to left Robin Canavan, did I say that right? Okay, Aaron Greenberg, and Charles Decker to my left. And I guess we'll be a little informal going back and forth, but let's talk about this Local 33 effort. We're talking about the graduate teachers at Yale. A lot of people think graduate students, they don't know about the teaching aspect. So what is the story there?
Sure. So Local 33 is the union representing graduate teachers at Yale. We won union elections overseen by the National Labor Relations Board. These are secret ballot, federally supervised elections. We won them in February. Since then, the university administration has refused to sit down to negotiate with us. They have claimed that there are outstanding legal issues that keep them from negotiating, though it is worth reminding your viewers that those outstanding legal issues are entirely of their own creation.
All right, we'll get it back into that in a while, but I want to hear about the teaching. What is it that people are doing?
So, in my time here at Yale, I've taught 4 different political science courses. I'm a graduate teacher in political science, and my workload for those courses includes leading the discussion sections. So generally, the undergraduates have a lecture that the professor gives, but then, they do the actual active learning, the discussion of the topics, the debates, and all that fun stuff are led by us, by the graduate teachers. And in addition, we grade their papers, we grade their exams, we administer their exams, we grade homework assignments if they have them. So we do, I think a huge proportion of the actual teaching of the undergraduates at the college.
I would point out Michael Denning, professor of American Studies here at Yale and a big supporter of our effort, has helpfully pointed out that in fact more people voted in our union election, more graduate teachers voted in our union elections in February than are on the tenure track of the faculty at Yale, to give you a sense of just the scale of the amount of academic and intellectual and teaching labor that is done by our members, by graduate teachers here at the university.
And there was an article by, I think it was Jennifer Klein in the New York Times, talking about how important part-time, I think they call them contingent professors, are, and graduate student teachers.
Yeah, would you like to take that?
Sure. Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I think the interesting thing about our teaching work is that it's so unique, department by department. I mean, I would probably never be able to lead a debate in a political science discussion section like Charles can, because as a graduate student in geology and geophysics, my undergrad degree is in geology. My research, my background is in paleontology and paleoclimate. So I've taught classes where I've needed to, take specimens out from the Peabody Museum and lead a lab on that material and grade lab assignments on that material. And so my training is very much for the type of classes that we teach in geology and geophysics.
So what is the issues? I mean, if you could negotiate, if you would sit down, what is the things that the union wants?
Yeah, so there are some very basic issues and priorities that our members have identified year after year that bring us to decide that, we want to solve these through a union. Issues around the security of our pay, around the fairness and transparency and equity of our pay, about ensuring that we have the kind of benefits that, we and our families need to have a decent life while we're here teaching at the university. Issues around grievance procedures so that, our members don't have to face hostile work environments or sexual harassment or discrimination on the job. Childcare, so that parents who are starting their families here in New Haven, here as they're teaching at Yale, don't have to choose between being an academic and starting a family. Those are just some of the issues.
I saw that sexual harassment was singled out. There was a demonstration, people blocked, I believe, Chapel Street, and that was mentioned significantly.
Yeah, I can speak to that. I was part of the civil disobedience on Chapel and College. I was part of a group of 8 there that got arrested last Thursday. And the issue of sexism and sexual harassment in the academy is the main reason I decided to do the fast. As a woman scientist, I feel like this is an extremely important issue right now. It's almost crisis level. 54% of women in the graduate and professional schools say that they have experienced sexual harassment, and that's just the number that have been willing to do the survey and report it. And so I really believe that things will not change unless we act and do something to change it. And so having the protection of the union, having a grievance procedure outside of the Yale administration, outside of their own internal Title IX process, which I feel like too often is more interested in filing reports and putting it under the rug and letting it slide than actually protecting people.
Okay, Yale, the trustees, the folks who own this place won't negotiate. I know they got a past-all of lawyers and they come up with a billion arguments. I don't want to spend more than a microsecond about that, but can you summarize in a microsecond what they say is the reason they don't want to negotiate?
One of the main arguments that they have made, that institutions like Yale have made for years, is that graduate students are students and not employees, even when we teach. This is an argument that I think is completely specious on its face, not to mention against the ruling of the current National Labor Relations Board. As an example of the speciousness of this argument, a graduate student doing the same job that I do, the same job that Robin does in the departments of political science or geology at the University of Connecticut or the University of California, Berkeley, or Rutgers or Michigan, all have had the right to form a union and have had unions for decades. We do the same work, but because we are in the private sector and because private sector universities like Yale have spent literally millions of dollars and decades fighting against these efforts, we did not until August of 2016 have the same protection that workers at public universities have enjoyed since the late 1960s.
All right, we did the microsecond. Now let's move on. The hunger strike. As I understand it, it started with 8 people, but then it rotated. How did that work?
Yes, so why don't you go
Sure. So I fasted for 10 days, like I said, and it was a very personal decision for all of us to do that. And so likewise, we made it clear from the start that if for any reason medically we needed to stop, we had colleagues who were prepared to step in for us and carry the fast forward. So when I could no longer go on after 10 days, my friend Sarah in the geology and geophysics department stepped in for me and carried the fast forward.
What's it like? You drank water. What is it like to be hungry for so long?
Well, so I fasted for 13 and a half days. My fast ended last Monday, and it's not like any experience I've had before. I fast for Jewish holidays for a day. This was really, almost 2 weeks, and the challenge is occupying your time, trying to distract yourself from the hunger that initially we all wanted to pretend that we didn't have. We wanted to pretend we weren't always thinking about food, but we were. We drank a lot of water. Hot water in the morning, cold water in the middle of the day, more warm water at night, making sure we stayed hydrated. The thing that really sustained us, though, was the massive amounts of support from the New Haven community, from the Yale community, from our faculty, from our parents, some of whom decided to spend some time with us here and to support us. Every day, more people coming by to say how inspired they were by the sacrifice that we were making, and that has continued for all those of our colleagues who've continued the fast.
Can you do your schoolwork then, or are you just too consumed with hunger?
I was actually able to get some work done. I mean, you don't need a lot of energy to sit and type on a laptop, but yeah. Sitting was fine, and visiting with friends or faculty or even total strangers was nice. It also reinforced the fact that we're not alone in this struggle, that we all sort of have each other's backs. Whether it's, people in the community we've met for the first time who are inspired, whether it's other, contingent academic workers from across the country who've contacted us, who are similarly, trying to form unions or are, wishing they could. So, yeah.
I want to tease you here. Look, maybe Yale can't pay. I mean, look at these tawdry surroundings. Maybe Yale can't afford to do the things you want them to do.
I guess I would remind your viewers that the Yale endowment is currently just hovering above $25 billion, which by most conservative calculations means they're making something on the order of $10 or $11 million per day on interest, not to mention all the other ways through donations and through fundraising and through other campaigns. They are a very lucrative organization.
You have a lot of cookie sales?
You'd have to ask them, but I don't know. They don't seem to have any trouble paying the bills, and they don't seem to have any trouble settling contracts with Locals 34 and 35, contracts that are massive and wide-ranging and that are very generous and really lead the industry and have created a middle class and sustained a middle class in New Haven and the whole region. They have no problem working with those unions over the last 10 or 15 years, but they have refused to give us the same kind of respect and treat us with the same kind of respect that they treat those workers on a regular basis.
Let's talk about ways the public can support you now, and we're coming to the very end of the term. I mean, graduation is Monday, is that right? So, I mean, there's some manifestations in back of us. Could one of you talk about that?
Yeah. Why don't you
Manifest support shown so far by various communities, unions.
Well, we're always welcoming visitors to 33 Wall Street here, so we're here every day if people want to come visit, sit around, chat, meet some new people. I guess, you know, we're inviting allies from up and down the East Coast to come join us on commencement, so if people want to join us then too, they're more than welcome.
You have a special event planned for commencement. Where should people get together?
People should meet at 8:30 a.m. on Monday, May 22nd at 425 College Street, which is the corner of College and Elm. There will be a lot going on that morning for Yale's commencement and a lot going on for our commencement. Many of our members will be in Yale's commencement and receiving their degrees. And then, as Robin said, we will have thousands of allies from across the region and across the East Coast, the labor movement, faith leaders, community leaders, political leaders, and just ordinary folks who are inspired by what we're doing to be there to hold Yale accountable for flouting the law. Right now, the law of the land is that they should sit down to negotiate with us, and they have refused to do that day after day. Instead of sitting with and negotiating with members of the Yale community, they are waiting on Donald Trump to appoint new anti-labor judges and overturn our right to organize. And we, as a community, and I think increasingly as a state, as a nation, people are waking up and saying that's unacceptable, Yale, and they'll be there on commencement to make that message loud and clear.
And perhaps we can close by what's behind us. Who created it? I see something new made out of metal. Perhaps you were gone for a bit. Maybe you could talk about it.
Sure. So this is our encampment outside of Woodbridge Hall on Beinecke Plaza. You see we have a nice brand new, as of last night, metal Local 33 sign that was built and donated by the steel workers, the sheet metal workers. And so the structure behind us, it's called a bow shed, and it was put up the morning after the fast started. So the fast started April 25th. In the morning of the 26th, we erected this structure. We did so by staging multiple civil disobediences on campus, during which the police were otherwise occupied. And so we had this thing sort of built in sections already, and we had a bunch of volunteers from, our members in the graduate school to other union members throw the thing up in about half an hour or so. And ever since then, the fasters have been in the structure receiving visitors and getting their medical checkups and everything during the day. And at night, they go indoors to sleep at a local church and other folks.
So they don't go back to their apartment?
No, they're going to a local church just for the sake, for two things. One, so that everyone sticks together, because a huge part of this has been the community, but also just so that they have less far distance to go, because, fatigue becomes a factor extremely quickly on fast. But at night, we have other folks sleeping at the structure to protect it.
Well, this has been great. I appreciate all of you for talking with us.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having us and speaking with us.
And good luck on Monday.
Thank you.
we record on the day that Donald Trump arrives in the tyranny of Saudi Arabia to make deals, huge new weapon sales, and to get possible investment in the U.S. from the Saudi kingdom. You can just smell the drool of the corporate fat cats. Trump and the Saudi king are to inaugurate the hilariously named Global Center for Combating Extremist Ideology. Saudi land, of course, is the head-chopping, women-hating home of bigotry, where people are literally crucified from time to time, and witchcraft is a capital crime. There also is going to be a summit, and a number of Arab countries are invited to it, including Sudan, whose president is wanted for genocide. Not a problem. George Orwell is somewhere having a bitter laugh. The kingdom, of course, is bombing Yemen daily and blockading its coast. Yesterday we learned from the group Just Foreign Policy that Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut and Republican Senator Christopher Young of Indiana have joined together to sponsor Senate Joint Resolution number 40 to put pressure on Saudi Arabia and its Yemen adventure. In his remarks, Murphy said that the Saudis are deliberately trying to create famine in Yemen. Their purpose is to essentially starve the Yemenis to the negotiating table, he said. Senator Young said the Saudi-led coalition continues to be responsible for an average of 16 days of additional delays to humanitarian shipments into the port of Hodeidah after vessels are cleared by the United Nations verification and inspection mechanism for Yemen. Think of it. Your children are starving to death. Maybe your entire village is starving to death, and you have a delay of an additional 16 days in humanitarian shipments. That was the remarks of Senator Young. Get it? The UN inspects it, but still the Saudis hold back the world's charity for another 16 days. We'll link to Senate Resolution 40 on our site, thestruggle.org. That's our program for today. See you next week at this time. I'm Stanley Heller, and this has been The Struggle.